So let's dig into the 2020 race. Eugene Scott, Adrian Elrod, Michael Steele. Eugene, so as we wrote in First Read this morning, Mark Murray basically said we walked into the debate thinking we were covering two front runners, and we came out wondering, is there just one? And at least the field has decided for now there's one, because Joe Biden seemed to be an afterthought last night.
Absolutely. It was fascinating watching people step up and attack Elizabeth Warren, who you didn't see take that approach previously, like Amy Klobuchar, like Pete Buttigieg was very vocal towards Warren. And I think it's because I think these candidates realize that they may have a chance at moving themselves up if they go after Warren. Maybe there was some thought at some point that Biden was so far ahead that he wasn't within reach. But I think they can really compete with the people that have flipped to Warren.
Well, it's interesting. There's two theories of this case, and I'm sure you've heard the other theory, Eugene and Adrian, which is that some of these Democrats are going after Warren because they think eventually Biden is going to collapse. And that he's on a trajectory on that, and they want to present themselves as a Warren alternative.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I think there are several different schools of thought here. I think initially many strategists in my field thought, well, maybe people aren't going after Elizabeth Warren because her favorabilities are so high among Democratic primary voters. And even though her policies may be a little extreme and may have a difficult time getting passed under a Mitch McConnell Senate, they still would do a lot of great things for the American people. So people were very scared to go after her, but the gloves were ripped off last night. I sort of call it a revenge of the pragmatic moderates, who I think really came out in full force. I think Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg just said, you know what, enough of this. Some of these policies are so extreme, and we're not, at least to us, and they have no chance of getting passed, and we're going to push back against them.
So is Elizabeth Warren Donald Trump in this situation? Because I remember at this point in this campaign, a whole bunch of Republicans thinking, look, at some point there'll be an alternative to Trump, and that will be more appealing because the rest of the Republican Party doesn't agree with Trump on so many of these things. And I'm being a little rough with this metaphor here, but I'm hearing this, Elizabeth Warren can be beat because the rest of the party. Is that true? I don't know.
Sure, but you still have Joe Biden sitting out there ahead of Elizabeth Warren in some cases, and it just a point or two behind her in other polls. So I don't know this notion all of a sudden that Joe Biden is just kind of an afterthought in the Democratic primary. To me, it's not realistic. I still think he holds an incredible amount of sway in the states that are going to matter later on in the primary. I've always said that if you bank on Iowa and New Hampshire to set your course for the presidency, particularly when you've got 40% of the Democratic base vote being African American, and that's coming up in South Carolina, that's his home court. Let's see what happens. But before you get there, look, Buttigieg telegraphed the move he made a week and a half ago.
Yes, he did.
All right. So for folks to sit back and act like they're surprised that this has going to he told us, I'm coming after you, Elizabeth. And the fact that she wasn't prepared to deal with that says more to me about where the campaign was and the arrogance of it. Looking at Pete.
Eugene, it is interesting here in assessing where Warren and Biden are. We've basically only brought up two other candidates here. It's Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg. Are we saying that Beto O'Rourke, Cory Booker, and Kamala Harris took a step back because they almost allowed both Buttigieg and Klobuchar to take those moments almost away from them?
I think Harris tried. I think Castro tried as well.
Castro's another one, right?
But, I mean, the reality is that the polls are where they are in terms of how people are responding to them. I mean, even on Twitter, we see people praising Harris and praising Castro on the left, but it's not translating into significant support. They've really struggled to get, out of the single digits. And so I don't think it's that they are complete afterthoughts to people, but it's one of those moments where you realize that the people on the ground could be very different from those on social media.
It's interesting, Adrian. I feel like Buttigieg's buzz is back.
Yeah.
But it's a more controlled level of it. Meaning, a lot of people realize, oh, wait a minute, he's got a ton of money. He seems more comfortable finding this space going after Warren, and he has a natural contrast with the frontrunners in that he's the young one.
Well, and I think to an extent, voters saw Mayor Pete do last night what they have been wanting Joe Biden to do all along, which is to take on Elizabeth Warren. And sure, there were a few exchanges, but you didn't see it in the full force that you saw with Mayor Pete last night. His campaign announced that they had the best fundraising day that they've had in, I think, a long time, maybe perhaps in the entire campaign today. They had a very strong voters had a very strong reaction to him last night in a positive way. And again, I think it's because together he and Amy Klobuchar really took on that moderate mantle.
Adrienne,
we're going to take him on.
I'm really struck by how you just phrased it, though, Michael. Pete Buttigieg took on Elizabeth Warren the way many Democrats, it sounds like the way you'd hoped Joe Biden could pull that off. We've not seen his ability to make that case.
We have not. And I think that some of that is the way I believe the campaign has coddled Joe Biden up to this point.
Meaning his staff.
His staff, right, has kind of sort of put a little bubble around him and, don't.
There's a little bubble wrap.
A little bubble wrap.
I agree.
And I think it's also.
Those of us that are on Sunday shows have noticed it. I'm not the only one. I speak for all 5 of my colleagues. Mr. Vice President, we would welcome to see all of you.
Right, but you have that.
Also, Senator Warren.
But I think you also have the rest of it is kind of the nature of the man at this point in his life when he's sitting up. So I've been senator, I've been vice president. Really?
There's a little bit of that.
There's a little bit of that.
So where does this go from here? I guess the question, like for an Amy Klobuchar, she left it all out there. Mm-hmm. She almost got the idea. It's like, I know I got to make this do or die. These debates sometimes get swallowed up by like what happened today.
I expect to see more of that from Buttigieg and Klobuchar as they spend more time out in America talking to voters that they believe are resonating with their messages, that they believe want something as an alternative to something as far left as what Warren is presenting.
I think the most important development is how Buttigieg is reminding people that even if Democrats win the White House, Donald Trump is still going to be around.
Right.
And that is something that I don't think people have fully comprehended. Anyway, Eugene, Adrienne, and Michael, thank you. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.